Well, hello, it's Thursday. At least it is when we're doing this right now. I hope we get this out on a Thursday because some of this information we want to convey today is time sensitive. Part of that would be the fact that as of today, this evening, maybe starting as soon as you show up on the mezzanine, we are very, very, very happy to have you upstairs. Please make a reservation, but come on upstairs upon making a reservation for parties of up to 4 people, and you can enjoy some time on this long abandoned mezzanine wine bar situation. So can't wait to have you back upstairs. Many of the wines I'm going to talk about today are actually going to be represented on the menu that I'm going to work on as soon as I'm done chatting with you. At any rate, that's the big news of the day. I think we already told you last week, but maybe not all of you watch all of the videos. So just to let you know again, yes, we can have limited numbers of you up on the mezzanine, and we would love for you to reserve your spot so we don't disappoint you by saying, sorry, no room left, no room in the inn. So let's have you upstairs, shall we? As of today, Thursday, late afternoon, let's call it, all right? That would be great. So that would mean Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all of those. And most days we close at 7 o'clock and you can remain until, let's say, 7:30. We kick the staff out at 7:45, and we can't really have any customers remaining after the staff has left, of course. Wouldn't that be fun? Leave you with a corkscrew and a few glasses, and what's gonna remain in the morning? No, we're not gonna do that. But at any rate, that's the general idea. We close at 7, and anybody up here still working on their glass of wine gets to stay for a while. How about that? I'm sticking around with this glass of wine right now. As you can see, I want to talk about this beautiful thing right here. I want to talk about a lot of good things. But maybe let's talk about very quickly the food thing first, just to have kind of a few chapters to this video. Bloom's End is the project of Mary Denham, our daughter. So Kathy and I, proprietors of the Wine Steward, have 2 gorgeous daughters. One of them is Mary, and she's extremely creative with her baked goods. She's worked at bakeries, she has worked at restaurants, she's a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America. Pronounce it correctly, because at any rate, you have being presented to you a person who is extremely thoughtful about making fantastic, delicious things, perhaps the best scones and biscuits you'll ever have. Well, how do you have them? Are we selling her pastries and baked goods under a glass case here? No, we can't. Logistically, that's not feasible. She lives over in San Anselmo, rents space in a culinary kitchen, and what we've found the best way to bring you Bloom's End products from Mary Denham is via frozen things that you finish at home. So just to remind you, there are still wonderful things down there in the freezer. This happens to be the cheddar chive biscuits. There are gougere. There might still be some scones down there. There's gorgeous cookie dough down there. And she also has a few things above the freezer that she's already baked up and finished for you. For instance, these are pressed flour, hemp seed shortbread. And when you see the flowers on here, you can know that Mary actually chose these organically grown flowers and put these on her, this product herself. Everything she makes is beautiful and delicious, and quality ingredients add up to really wonderful stuff. So check out Bloom's End, check out that freezer and the products that are actually above the freezer, including some wonderful granola. She makes an amazing granola. So next time it's yogurt and granola time for breakfast, choose Bloom's End. All right, got that food thing out of the way. Actually, there's one more food product to tell you that we just got back in. And in fact, today, maybe we will tell you about a few things that are just back in. Things you've been enjoying in the past, but missing recently, because we are, in fact, this hardworking little wine shop, food and wine shop, that is finding you products that are made in small production. And the access of these products is sporadic, very inconveniently. It's far easier to run a Costco where you're bringing in pallets of stuff and you can keep the same product continuously. Unfortunately, that's been done. They do it well. We do this. We bring you small production food and wine products. And this is an example. This is an olive oil from Spain. It's actually made by one of our favorite producers of Rioja. This producer is called Vinsacro or Escudero, whichever name you would like. When you see it on a bottle of wine, it's called Vinsacro. When you see it on a bottle of olive oil, it's called Bequer. This is from olive trees from that Rioja estate in Rioja, Spain, Rioja Baja. Actually, they call it Rioja Oriental now. They've upgraded the name a little bit. At any rate, we sold out of this olive oil. It's hard for us to get. We just got in, I think, 36 bottles, so it's back in town right now, and it won't be here for long. What we do here is really inconvenient, and yet we love doing it. We want to find you quality things that you won't see everywhere else. So that olive oil is an example of that. So are the things that Mary puts in the freezer for Bloom's End. Now let's talk about some wine products that are back in town. I won't even digress on them too much, but you may recognize labels as I show them to you. You know, there were 3 wine categories that really took off for us last year. When the pandemic started, so many more of you got into sparkling wine for some reason. I think it was just this need to celebrate something and just to add some festivity to the humdrum life of being quarantined. And then what else worked was dry rosé. Dry rosé has been working wonderfully for us, but it kind of plateaued in popularity. I think because the big box stores and the grocery stores got a hold of it. And after all the missionary work we did with getting you into dry rosé, all of a sudden these guys took it on. It's like, man, we did the work. At any rate, last year, rosé went zooming right back up again in popularity around here. So that was cool to see. What is the other category that took off? Very unpredictably, white Burgundy, and maybe because we gave it a hard push, but specifically within white Burgundy, which is Burgundy, France, where they make wonderful Chardonnay, the little area of Burgundy to the north called Chablis. Chablis, that name that is misunderstood, is being better understood by so many of you now. And in fact, this Gauthieron Vieille Vigne Chablis is back on the shelf. It is super hard to get. I could talk forever about how difficult it is to get a ship that might be floating out of the bay into its particular offloading slot in the actual port. There is a lot of wine hanging around outside the Golden Gate and floating on our bay that still can't quite make it into port. It's so ironic that it made it all the way here from France, Italy, and Spain, and so on, and it can't quite get in. I'm sure you've heard about the frustration. It's not just about wine. There's a lot of product out there that's just waiting to get offloaded. And fortunately, we grabbed 3 cases of this Chablis as soon as we heard that a little bit of it came in. So Gauthieron Chablis, it's back on the same subject as Chablis. Another label you will recognize if you've been following this product for a while is this one from Patricia Racan. And this wine costs a little bit more because it's a little bit better. How do we know it's better? It's because it has dogs on the label. Yes, Bourgeois, I think they are. So this wine is a better Chablis because of the dogs. No, actually, it's really delicious. The Patricia Racan is back. Many of you recognize it. You kind of have to pounce. We're getting limited amounts of these things. I think 3 cases of that one came in as well. And there's one more wine that I want to tell you about that is like something that you've enjoyed, and then we ran out, and you've been asking, are you going to get any more? Well, this wine is back. This wine that many of you may not actually recognize, but this is a red wine from Fougères, France. That's southwest France. Kind of an unknown name. There's all kinds of crazy names down there, like wine names like Minervois and Corbière, and I don't know, Fougères is one of them. This wine includes Mourvedre and Carignan, and I think Grenache might have a little Syrah, I can't remember. What I do remember is that we clubbed it, you loved it, and we sold right out. And getting a little bit more out here was difficult, but now there are 3 or 4 cases hanging out downstairs. So if you've been missing this wonderful Fougères, which I believe to be a great lesson to the Livermore Valley as to what they might want to plant here with an open mind and a little bravery, this is the wine. This is the Mas de Capitale Fougères Rouge. Really good stuff. So that's about 3 wines that have been here and have come back. And now let's talk about things that are really cool, that are just brand new to the store overall. And that's what's right in front of you there and in here. We're going to tell you about 2 products from this producer who is out in the Western Loire Valley, where they make Muscadet. Muscadet is the name of a wine type in a wine region. It's not the name of the grape. So when you see the word Muscadet on a label, don't freak out if you're afraid that it's Muscat. It isn't. But I digress. What I want to tell you about first of all is this producer's sparkling wine made of a really, really, really hard to find grape. In fact, this grape is so hard to find, you will have to go to this actual producer and to his 10 acres of it, 4 hectare that is, of this particular grape called, they're helping us out here, Berligout. Berligout is very, very good. I promise you. This is a sparkling wine made entirely of a red grape called Berligout. This producer makes a still red wine, a rosé wine, and then this extra dry, I was about to say brut, but this is an extra dry sparkling wine made entirely of this grape called Berligout. Berligout, where the hell did that come from? It came from Burgundy, apparently. The Duke of Burgundy was pals with the Duke of, I believe, Brittany, and the Duke of Burgundy gave him cuttings to plant in his own realm. This is before France was unified into a big country. The Duke of Burgundy and the Duke of Brittany were like ganging up on the actual King of France at the time. And to thank the Burgundy guy, I wanted to thank the Brittany guy for all of his help with kind of bullying the King of France, and gave him some cuttings of Berligout. Turns out Berligout may actually have originally come from Russia. Yeah, it's kind of cool. At any rate, we don't know much more about it except that it went virtually extinct during World War II as vineyards got wiped out for all kinds of reasons. And there were perhaps only 5 vines left of Berligout, and this producer has taken it upon himself to propagate the grape and make this wine. I said extra dry, I did not say brut. So in fact, this has a higher dosage amount. And a lot of wine geeks and freaks right now are really going for sparkling wine with 0 dosage or super low dosage. Dosage meaning the little bit of sugar that is added to the wine to resolve the acidity. Well, does that mean that this wine is sweet because it has a higher dosage? I actually splashed, I was opening the bottle at my desk this morning in order to demonstrate the tasting of this wine, and half of it blew out, well, not half, but a lot of it blew out on my lap. I made a mess. It got on the floor, got on my pants, got all over my hands. You know what? If it was a sweet wine, I would have been sticky, and I was not. This is not a sweet wine, all right? What does the higher dosage actually do to this sparkling wine? It simply rounds the mouthfeel. Instead of it being a precise and lean, pristine style bubbly, it's just got a little mouthfeel to it. That's what a higher dosage does. If you go even higher in dosage, of course, that's when you get into demi-sec and you have downright sweet sparkling wine. This is not to that degree. This is 100% Berligout, extra dry, aged on the lees for 2 years, grown in the far western Loire Valley. This is the only producer doing this wine. Beautifully labeled, as you can see. I think this is going to be a kick for a lot of you. We're going to put this on the menu and try it out on you this weekend. When I smell it, and I was smelling it earlier, I always tell you to smell your wine first, and what did I do? I went right to it. I would get a faint sense, just a very vague sense of raspberry and rose petal, and in the mouth a little bit of mandarin, and the wine is dry. It's just a little rounder because of the higher dosage, okay? It's very, very tasty. It's packaged beautifully. The color's great. I think this wine is going to take off. Too bad the guy only has 10 acres, but we'll see what we can do with that. Berligout, name of the grape. And from that same producer, I did promise you to tell you about 2 wines from the dude. This is more traditional, more recognizable to some of you. The Western Loire Valley is the region called Muscadet, and Muscadet is happening here. So this is a bottle labeled as Muscadet. And yet, that's not the name of the grape. The actual name of the grape in this region is called Melon, like melon, Melon de Bourgogne, like melon of Burgundy. The grape came from over there. Burgundy doesn't have it anymore, I guess, and yet it is proliferated here. And it makes a wine that is super high in acidity and rather vague in actual smell and flavor. Muscadet, I always think of as more of an effect on the palate. It's a very dynamic effect, and the greatest thing to have with it is raw oysters, but really anything with some protein and fat is wonderful for this to cut into. It's just a great pairing to do richness along with a precise laser beam knife of a wine called Muscadet. You should try it. Bone dry, We are west of where they grow the Sauvignon Blanc and the Chenin Blanc. So the Sancerre and the Vouvray and all that is well east of here in the Loire Valley. This is the Western Loire wine called Muscadet. It's dynamic, and we have this brand new wine on the shelf. I want you to try it, especially with some raw oysters. Now, with this dilemma that I already mentioned of getting wines in from Europe right now, of course, the most urgently needed wine right now are the fresh, dry rosés, especially from the south of France, but also from Italy and Spain. They're coming, but they're coming in like boat by boat, and it's getting very, very frustrating. So one solution is like, let's think about the local stuff, and let's thank Rhonda Wood out at Wood Family Vineyards for her and her team making one of the greatest, probably the greatest dry rosé made ever in the Loire Valley. I was going to say the Livermore Valley. No, we're not going abroad for once. For once, Jim is bringing us home, and we're going to have a Livermore Valley rosé here based on Grenache. It is gorgeous. It's the Pink Pearl from Wood Family Vineyards. It doesn't look like the typical Wood Family label. This is a special thing that's only for their rosé bottling, and this is fantastic dry Grenache-based rosé. I invite you to try it. Now, there are some rosés getting here from Europe, and just to say that we're not all about the Provence style, and that we do drink out of the rosé box a little bit. Let's tell you about one that's from Austria. This is from Pratsch. That's how you would say that crazy name there, Pratsch. And what is the grape? What is the red grape of Austria? Well, probably if you had to identify one, you know the white grape, of course, is Gruner Veltliner. Many of you have gotten into that. This is made of Zweigelt. That's Zweigelt. Zweigelt is the grape at play here. When you first open this and apply it to your tongue, you will detect just the tiniest bit of a prickle. There is some intentionally trapped CO2 in this. It's not even up to the frizzante level. It's just like, is that a little bubbly, or is that on purpose? And yes, it is. It just adds to the vivacious character of this really lovely Zweigelt rosé. Lovely, how do I know? Because I've had 3 bottles of it myself. Dry rosé from Austria. Get out of the Provence rut. Try something else. Now, I want to tell you about a little no-no in the wine business. A no-no, as far as we're concerned, would be a vendor who gets an order of a wine that we've been carrying and just sends the stuff and doesn't tell you that the vintage has changed. Well, come on. Do you think that's going to be the exact same wine that you have been carrying when the vintage has changed? No. Vintage, Mother Nature applies her little, design of difference every vintage. And so when this wine got here, well, first of all, we noticed that the label looks completely different, but Finca El Origen Malbec from Argentina looks different, and so does the vintage. It's gone on to 2019. So I emailed our vendor and I said, shame on you. And actually I didn't, because this stuff happens. He didn't know the vintage was changing. But he did know that he's rather obligated to provide us with a bottle. I said, we have 4 cases of this downstairs. I'm going to open a bottle and make sure that we like the 2019. So here it is, this Malbec that we have sold extremely successfully. It sells for, I think, $12.99, and that's long before your wine club discount. And I got this open this morning. This happened this morning. I checked it out. I said, oh, it flipped to 19, and I got a little upset and went upstairs, sent that email, and he said, no, big deal. Open the bottle, see what you think. I saw what I thought. It is lovely. This wine, look at the color. It's beautiful Malbec, $12.99. It's been a bestseller here, and I had my fingers crossed when I tried the wine, just hoping we like the next vintage, because it's already been on a roll. You've been coming back for more and more of this, and Ennis in particular has been letting you know about how good this wine is for the money. I mean, $12.99 before your wine club discount? Come on. For this, blackberries in the nose, and in the mouth, blackberries, and yet there's kind of this youthful stoniness as I was trying it earlier. You could actually age some of this based on the structure I'm feeling. This is not structure that is difficult, especially if you do the Argentine thing of having beef with it. I think a lot of people understand tannic red wine because they love great Napa Valley Cabernet and don't always want to buy up for that. you will understand this wine within that mindset. Lovely wine. Again, it's going to stay. We're not going to send it back. Finca El Origen 2019 Malbec. Get in on it. It's a wonderful value. Yes. Now to go a little crazy here, to surprise you by saying, yeah, we got silly. But this is what we do with the Wine Steward. This is not convenient. You don't come in asking for German Pinot Noir, do you? Most of you don't. I mean, a lot of you, however, say, what's new? What's different? What haven't you bought in a while, Jim? What haven't you put on the shelves in a while? Yes, we have I think we have an $18, $15 Oregon Pinot Noir down there. But what about high class Oregon? German Pinot Noir. Yes, Germany. The great thing about the Pinot Noir grape is it has a different thing to say based on where it is from. All these different locations each apply a different voice of place to Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is especially able to declare location. And that's why, in fact, so many people geek out over Pinot Noir from here and here and here and here. That's why producers in California of Pinot Noir rarely make just one. He or she might make 6 Pinot Noirs, one from perhaps Oregon, one from Anderson Valley, one from Russian River, one from Santa Barbara County, and so on, because each one of them will be wonderfully different from the other. Well, let's go to a great place for Pinot Noir that you might not have considered. This is southern Germany. Both of these wines are from Baden. Actually, one's from Pfalz. That's P-F-A-L-Z, and it's very true. And then the other is from Baden, southern Germany. They're lovely. They're upper crust. This one acts a lot like a red Burgundy, which is why I bought it. I thought anybody who loves good red Burgundy will find something safe here, at least like, oh yes, I can link it to that. This one is more intrinsically German for me. And what does that mean? Like, what do we get from German Pinot Noir? In my opinion, you get something a little bit like New Zealand from the Central Otago Valley, but also something that is like nothing else in the world. And that's what we want when we go somewhere for a great wine. We want the wine to taste unique, identifiable as coming from that place. So let's do that here with this wine. Opened it yesterday, tried it this morning. It's like killing it. It's a 2015. Somebody gave it 93 points. We can't mention his or her name or their name because they want to charge us $200 a year to do that. So we'll just say somebody gave it 93 points. At any rate, this is a 2015 Pinot Noir from Baden, Germany, which is brushy. There's very pretty strawberry fruit in there too. So like, you know, whenever we talk about earthiness or fruit, other than fruit flavors and smells, I don't want you to freak out. These are nice extra dimensions. If it was nothing but fruit, the wine would be boring. But this has great other than fruit qualities besides the strawberries. Like I said, brush, kind of like a rosebush thorniness to it. This grows in iron-rich clay, and sometimes you can actually detect iron in a wine. And I think this wine is a little bit bloody or ironic, if you will. Totally gentle on the palate. It's silky. It's lush. It is delicious. It's 6 years old now, and it's in its prime. This is a gorgeous Oregon Pinot Noir. I will butcher the name, but I'll just say it's Zierreisen. I'll get it on the website. You can also come in and ask about it. Ask about the 2 German Pinots we brought in. They're both going to be around $35 up to $40 maybe, but they are upper crust, really good ones. So this one and that other one that reminds me a little bit of red Burgundy. I know we're going on a little long this time, but I do want to tell you about one more wine because it's super user-friendly. And we can't say user-friendly all the time about Negro Amaro. Negro Amaro is a grape, that's the name of the grape, from southern Italy. The heel of the boot we call Puglia. Well, they call it Puglia too, so I guess we agree. At any rate, the grape Negro Amaro is actually, if you break down the name, Negro would mean black in Italian, and Amaro would mean bitter in Italian. But some professionals out there argue that it's actually black and black because you've got Negro of Italian, and Amaro, some people say, is derived from Mavro, which is Greek for black. And this may in fact be a grape that made it a long time ago over to Italy from Greece. So it's black and black or black and bitter, whichever you'd like. I think the wine behaves both ways. In other words, look at the color. Woof. And smell it. And you're looking at black and you're smelling a bit of charcoaly gruffness. And that's the problem with this wine that's not always user-friendly. It's user-friendly because of price. Negro Amaro is often $20 or less, and this one is, in fact, I think it's going to get down to the $16.50 range for you wine club members. But this Negro Amaro is different from most in that, as gruff as it smells, as charcoaly and intriguingly curmudgeonly as it smells, and you anticipate it doing that to your palate, because most of them do. Let's see what happens here. A little more easygoing. This is user-friendly Negro Amaro from Puglia, Italy. The price is user-friendly. The style, for once, is as well. This is why I wanted you to know this grape. I wanted you to know about this super important wine from Puglia, Italy, and yet I have a hard time choosing one for you sometimes because a lot of you don't like that grippy stuff on the palate. This still has some, but there's nice polish. I can drink this as a cocktail. All you have to do is go home and cook for it, and you will understand this wine. You'll be back for more because it's inexpensive, and yet it takes you somewhere from here. It takes you to another place. We aren't able to travel all that much yet, right? The cool thing about great wine is getting to go somewhere else and maybe enjoying a place in that glass of wine. And we've done that several times today. I hope some of these things have excited you, intrigued you. Come in for that fantastic Burley Goo Bubbly. Come see us on our wine bar. Come see us one way or the other, will you? Thank you for everything you're doing with us. Have a fantastic weekend. This is Jim Denham signing off at the Wine Steward. Cheers.